Most people didn't read books and papers, so this language was quite developed, and some of it has lasted. So, for example, if you see a olive branch, we still know that that's a peace symbol. So a few of these have come down through the years. A lot of them were borrowed from even farther back in time, and then sometimes the church would take them and make them their own, which happens often. And a lot of the symbols were read contextually as well, so they could have more than one meaning, but the people, depending on who else was in the image or what was happening in the image, they could understand that particular piece. So yeah, the lemons we spoke of faithfulness in its positive context.
Lemon was faithfulness.
It was a symbol of faithfulness. That's one of the. There were several ways to interpret that. So an easier one to understand for that is, I was just talking to a couple, and the pomegranate has always been a fertility or a life-giving symbol, and the church used it for resurrection. So you'll see often. I have some photos of some of the older Renaissance pieces, and so when Christ child would be sitting there holding a pomegranate, and to us today it seems a bit bizarre. Why would that be happening? But it was to let people know that it was talking about resurrection and eternal life. So again, a life-giving symbol that was transformed. So we knew that this was a special child. This wasn't any baby, but this was the Christ child. Whereas an apple, for example, if it was held by Christ, it was a symbol of salvation. But if it was in a painting on a shelf and there was a couple about to be married, it would warn against temptation. So the concept of temptation and salvation play off each other. So often the Christ child would take that symbol and transform it into a more positive context. So it was a very developed, rich language. Yeah.
How did Guelph react to those pieces as you showed them?
Yeah, it was an exciting show. We had a lot. It was interesting because it was held at the church. It was to pull people in. There were a lot more Guelph people than church people that came to the show, which was quite interesting. It was well received. I think people liked the idea of an idea behind a show that they could grasp onto, and I think because it's the first time the church did it, residency, it was nice to have more literal pieces. This year we have a wonderful artist, Rachel Albano. She's fairly new to the art scene, but I'm sure you'll hear a lot about her. She's an abstract worker, and I think as we move forward, our second resident was a photographer who played a lot with out-of-focus pieces, so it played between literal and abstract. So we're moving the education piece forward, I think, and that's quite exciting for me, because I think it's educating people in a different way.